Okay, here we are. Welcome, all you friends and newcomers. Thank you. It's August the 17th today, a monkey day in the Mayan calendar. I found that was really suiting for what I have to tell you today. 13 monkey, the blue cosmic monkey. Okay. There's some really interesting things now starting to develop. I want to name this episode, this recording, Embracing the Challenge. That's what is happening now. We are starting to see the true magnitude of what's still necessary, which is quite a bit, but it's now becoming clear how much this really is. So in a nutshell, I want to say by the end of May 2023, Trump will be reinstated. Okay, let's just take this as a mainframe here for where I'm going with all that, and I will build my story over the next two recordings. This is kind of the foundation. The next one will get more into the specific details regarding the American chart and such. Okay, Jupiter enters heliocentric Aries just within half an hour of when I'm doing this recording on the 17th of August, after all, the 17 again. And what you probably haven't really seen yet here, unless you have really followed all my latest recordings, the 17th degree of Leo, or the 18th degree, and so the 18th degree of Aquarius again here in a most prominent place. If you go back to my latest 2-3 recordings, I'm over and again stumbling over this 17-18 degrees Leo Aquarius axis, and naturally when these resonances occur, that kind of ties these different events together, and one of the main ones here was on July 4, 2022, when Earth was exactly at its farthest spot from the Sun, at its aphelion, which is a super important point in any celestial orbits, celestial objects orbits, because it's where it reaches its farthest spot and now turns around again and starts to approach the Sun in that sense. So it is that change from the dominance of now let me say it right, of centripetal, I guess those forces are called, which are pulling away, and then the centrifugal forces come into play again as they gain the upper hand. So these are super important points in any orbit's definition, and they work wonderful, powerful as the prediction points for what's happening on this planet. So I have used them before, have shown you with 9/11 and other charts. It's just unbelievable how these moments are showing what's coming in the next 6 months. So that was kind of where these 17 degrees were first showing up, and since in a whole number of charts you can go back to my recordings in these two within these two dates, now and early July, and you will see there's a steady build up in clarity, in kind of, as I like to say it, it's like the universe is putting guardrails and more guardrails, so we are kind of nudged into the right direction. There's still the freedom to bounce against the guardrails and get bounced back, and then find your own kind of path within that channel. That's kind of what it is. It builds a channel, but you have still the ability to move along, or in a simple way said, also to kind of intuit where it's going and be in the flow, or getting bounced onto the edges of the channel over and again, kind of which naturally is one would guess cause some at least a little bit of hurt feelings, and maybe even a bruised elbow or something like that. So you get the picture. The more we are able to see where we are going, the more we are in tune and acceptance with where we are meant to go, the better we do, the less resistance there is, the more energy we have really available to focus on what is important, which is, in a nutshell, it's the heart. I guess that has become clear. It's really love is what is going to save the world, in a very simple way, as John Lennon also already said it, and many before, Gandhi, and who knows, many names. It would be way too much to mention them all. Jimi Hendrix was another one. So it is really a love which is pulling us from A to B. It is that, I often like to call it, the future is pulling us, and this abundant love is really our future selves. We have developed that already, and time as such is anyway an illusion. So it is that reconnection to all the different timelines, to integrate them, and in that sense, as soon as time stops, then you have the full power of the future and the past both, and you are right at the center of the wave. So yes, these 17 degrees. So this makes this moment super important. Heliocentric Jupiter entering Aries. This is the heliocentric chart, and here you see Jupiter at 0, 0, 0, 0. So you probably know, as seen from Earth, Jupiter has been in Aries since May 10. So because we have a different perspective, naturally we see the planets in a different spot when we look from Earth. So this is important in the sense that, yes, since May 10, as seen from Earth, Jupiter is in Aries and will be here for the next few months. It will go back into Pisces for a couple weeks or so, for a few weeks, not much, around the time when it turns stationary, direct again. So anyway, this is the heliocentric chart, and here the planets always go forward. That is the very big special thing about heliocentric charts. There's no retrogrades. So once a planet has entered a new sign, it will be there. That's why this moment is super important. So what does Jupiter in Aries really mean? It means a new beginning of expansion, in a simple way said. So we're coming just out of the end of the last degrees of Pisces, which kind of was the culmination of a 12-year cycle, you could say. Whenever we are at the end of Pisces with any planets, that is kind of when there's a re-looping, a going back, and a kind of a deep integration, which then will go into a kind of a cocoon phase before it is reborn into a higher dimension, into a kind of like a spiral, one step higher than it was last time. So it is a super important moment, and we will see this chart has its has really lots going on. I want to go a bit deeper into this because this is a super important chart again for the next few months or even years. Actually, that's maybe overstated, so I guess it's about a 13-month period. Anyway, that is far into the year 2023, so it is really the next year. Okay, to be clear. Okay, now let me roll back a little bit first because I want to emphasize something I said in my last recording once more very clearly. Deucalion, I go back to my earlier recording, my last one, then you get more of that, but I want to repeat Deucalion is super, super important in our present times. Deucalion resonates with the Greek character, Deucalion with the biblical character of Noah, who was told by God to build an ark. In the Greek myth, it is Zeus telling Deucalion to build that ark to kind of outdo Neptune. That is now the way I would put it. So Neptune in the Greek mythology is the one which causes the water levels to rise and everything to drown, and so whoever has been preparing and foreseeing what's coming and just following your intuition, your divine insight, the voice of God within you, which tells you that is important, just do it, don't question, just follow this instruction and things will go well. So Deucalion is a cubewano. I want to just go back to that once more because this is really super important. So cubewanos are a whole big family of planets. Up to now, I guess there's over 800 which have been found between, actually outside of Neptune, to be clear. So here you have this would be Neptune's orbit here, this blue one, and this kind of grayish one is Pluto. And here just I just showed you this picture because of all the little dots which shows you the population. Here we have Arrochot, Aries, Haumea, Makemake, which is just a few of them. Let me jump to this picture here now. This is the same thing basically, and so one of those is Deucalion. I don't think it's in here, but it gives you the rough picture. So the special thing about all these cubewanos is they're belonging to the Kuiper belt, and many of them are non-resonant, and this is super important. I mentioned that in my last recording too. Non-resonant means they are not affiliated to Neptunian gravitational fields, and Neptune is a big planet. It's the last big planet. It's in the range of 30,000 kilometers in diameter, so it has a strong gravitational force. Many of these outer planets are in resonance, so there's a few which are non-resonant. Chaos is one of them, as I mentioned, and Deucalion, and there's certainly a few more, but these ones I was focusing on. Now Deucalion most particularly is kind of that unobstructed view, because Neptune is extremely easy to influence on one side, to have great ideals, but also fall prey to all kinds of illusions, and you name it. It's that whole field of propaganda and belief, and so to get an independent perspective on everything which is within the solar system, Neptune being the outermost of the big planets, so having an independent perspective from outside is super helpful, and that's where the cubewanos come in. Deucalion giving that neutral, detached, unobstructed, kind of independent voice. So that's why these new this new group of planets is super important. It really allows us to kind of expand out of that eggshell Neptune really puts around our solar system, and in a way the Neptune energy is kind of a double-sided mirror. So if we are not able to really penetrate it, then we just it gets reflected back what Neptune wants us to see. So opening our minds to expand towards the cosmic is super important. I mean, we have the personal planets, Mercury, Venus, the Moon, Mars, and then we have the big gap where the asteroids are. That's another story. I touched on that sometimes, but let's just leave that for now. It is that a resonance field between personal and social planets, social being Jupiter, Neptune, Jupiter and Saturn are the social planets, and then we have the spiritual or the collective planets, which are Neptune and Uranus. And then beyond that we have the cosmic levels, and that's kind of a gradient. The further out we get, the more cosmic it gets, which means less under the influence of the solar bubble, more open-minded to the greater cosmos and the transcendent principles and laws. Anyway, that's kind of the framework here I wanted to paint. Now, why do I go back to this chart? For a few reasons. The 8th degree of Aquarius, just bear with me here for a minute. That was the focal point of this chart, and Deucalion, by the way, in this chart was here at 2259. That was when it reached its bottom point of retrograding, starting to move direct again, starting to get out of its cave again, in that sense, starting to perform in a outward manner, in a more visible manner. Before that, the retrogradation is always kind of a retreat of internally processing and preparing. So this is kind of the moment the door is open. Okay, now I'm out again in the world, and naturally important, the moon was conjunct Deucalion. Approaching, that means closing in on Deucalion, which also is called an applying conjunction. And naturally also we have here all that powerful Mars Uranus North Node conjunction, which I guess it's not overstated. These are tremendously demanding times in many ways. We are right in the middle of the currents. It really feels like a white water raft. You don't know where the next rock is hitting the boat. Will you be turned over? Will you hit your head on a rock? Are you making it to get back out of the white water and be able to grasp a little bit of air to fill your lungs again before the next challenge comes, and always be ready for the waterfall, because you have to be exactly in the right position to jump down that fall to make it safely. So that's kind of the feel I get for what is happening right these weeks. Particularly, it will become a little more well, we get used to it. I guess that's the first thing. The more we are in this field of energies and this crazy dynamics, the more we are learning to handle these energies. And I guess it is a build-up, it's a preparation. As I said, we are getting closer to kind of a graduation, and it's really only about the people who are awake already. We should not even try to wake others up anymore, as I also realized very big time when I listened to the Taigetan messages by Gosha. I mentioned Gaia has that series on galactic messages. Gosha also has a YouTube channel, Cosmic Agency, so I would suggest, if you're interested in the material, super interesting, important, powerful, totally opens your mind to a different way of seeing reality. Anyway, the nutshell there is that the big number of people on this planet are synthetic. Okay, I don't want to go too deep into this. It's linked into Dolores Cannon's background people and quite a few other intuitives and people who have that deeper understanding have said the same thing. So according to the Taigetans, only 1 of 5 people here on planet is real. The rest are part of the matrix. They're part of the program. That's why they can't think out of the box. They're totally mainstream, totally brainwashed. They're just one with the matrix. Whatever is told in the news, that's what is unquestionable, true. That shows you they are really not able to think, because they're not meant that way. They're just really a facade of energy which is created by the matrix. So as soon as the matrix breaks down, these people disappear. It's an interesting concept, leave it or take it, but it makes lots of sense. So all we have to care for is about that 1 in 5. And if we reach a certain amount of people who are really getting it out of that 1 out of 5, then then the avalanche is really kicked loose. I guess that's the best way to say it. Then it all happens naturally, all by itself. And it seems that's exactly where we are. We start realizing that there's an acceleration happening now. It's getting wilder and wilder, and we actually don't have to do anything anymore in particular. We just have to sit back and relax and enjoy as much as we can within that craziness, within all that turmoil and convulsion. So yes, this was a super important, powerful chart which showed, yes, it is it's so tied in. Also, I could say many more things. Let me just scroll on now into the sequence of my charts here to show you. So, this was then when Mars was conjunct to Kelvin's North Node. That was just 2 days later. Mars here at 2234. Why I show this chart is showing you the resonance with the full moon, which we had on the 12th. You see there's almost the same geometry, the same suspension points. Just shows you how important this. Now this chart, this full moon we just had, was a difficult one. I guess there's no question. I kind of hinted at that. I didn't really say it outright. I never really want to get you to be afraid or kind of what's the word? Just kind of wanting to say no, 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 why. So anyway, but it is important to realize the black moon here rising. This is difficult, and we know it. It's happening. Just think of the of the, I don't want to say the name, that three-letter agency who just went in and confiscated the former president's whatever. That happened when the black moon was exactly on the degree of the United States birth sun. Actually, it was, that warrant was signed on the 12th of August, exactly on full moon, so that kind of shows the resonance there. This was an absolute new low in American politics. I guess that's pretty clear, and if anything, this needed to happen to even open more people, real people, to what is truly going on. And with Mercury down here, yes, people are realizing what's going on. It's kind of disgusting. It is disappointing. It is difficult with Chiron here in a T-square to the ascendant here. And this is a global thing. I mean, again, we know this has been the case since pretty much 2016-17, that America is the leading edge of this transformation. It was Brexit, and then it was President Trump's victory, which were really the two things which threw big sticks into the NWO agenda. And since then, they are in panic. They don't know yet anymore how to handle the situation. They act so it doesn't make sense. It's really like a wounded animal. There's no logic. It's just wild movements in all directions, and it's really hard to not wake up from what is going. Now, the full moon, yes, on top of that, I pointed that out to in T-square to the Uranus North Node conjunction. So yeah, it's really, we're right in the center of that extreme redefinition of everything. That's what that Uranian force is kind of shaking it all loose, reshuffling all the atoms, and naturally in Taurus, this is there's a contradiction there, but also it helps to bring down that Uranian flavor into the earth, planting seeds. That's really what it is in a most basic way. So this was the full moon. Now let's move on with that next chart, which we were just looking at already. One more thing I want to mention here is that there's the Mars Chiron conjunction getting exact over the next 2 days here in the heliocentric. Then here we have the heliocentric Mercury Sedna opposition, very special. Sedna is one of these cosmic agents who bring us a whole library of what has been lost, coming back from a 11,000 year orbit around the sun. So the last time, that was 12,000 years ago, so there's lots to catch up on. That's kind of what it feels with Sedna. So with Mercury here at the end of Scorpio, the very last final minutes, this is a deep dive into research, into deeper understanding, turning each stone around, and this is really showing that this is the general mood, the general mode, I would say, of what's going on in this planet. People are wanting to understand and do their research, and more this becomes the norm, that we really have to do our, use our discernment with all and everything, but also to listen to all and everything which seems relevant, to not block anything out, to keep an open mind, to be ready to toss whatever you were believing in for the last whatever 50, 70 years, toss it overboard and replace it with something which is more in tune with what is observed. And it's always about that. We have to adjust to what perception tells us. It's really like driving a car. You have constantly to adjust to what you're seeing, and if there's suddenly a deer walking across the road, then you naturally slow down and move around it or wait till it's past. That's kind of how it is. We cannot rely on past experiences, on assumptions. Well, the road should be clear, I'm just driving because that's what it has been all the time. You get the picture. So, yes, I could keep going on. I want to point out one more thing here, this grand cross of, in the heliocentric chart again, Ceres, Varuna, Radamanthus, and then the moon in the geocentric chart will be here, and Chariklo. Okay, this is a powerful, powerful cross. And the mainstays here are Chariklo, which is midwife, and also embracing a situation which needs lots of empathy and love and care. It is a very powerful female force, Chariklo. So is Ceres, is a female asteroid of unconditional love. It is Earth goddess as such. So they're both in play here together. And that is today with the 17th of August exact. Again, this is just a foundation chart, laying the foundation for a long time coming with Varuna. Varuna, all about righteousness and absolute truth, and the gold star of ethics, in a way. And Radamanthus, very similar, is the one who has been given the role to judge the dead, because this king was so always doing the right thing, so just his whole career as a king in old Egypt, in old Greece, sorry, I'm mixing everything up today. And then naturally the moon tying in here. So yeah, there's lots and lots of intentions are cemented into this energetic structure of Jupiter's birth into these coming 13 months, expanding through Aries, recuperating ground. It's kind of really a new beginning of expansion, of after we had been waiting, pulling back, integrating, observing all these things. Now the time comes to take this energy and push the accelerator and do the right thing. Get your foot in the door. Be the fire that is coming from within. Express it. Be bold. Be blunt. Know that all these so-called powers, they're nothing but silhouettes at this point. There's nothing behind it anymore. Empty shells. So it's really the final phase which is now here. And as I say, it is the time to embrace the challenge and know, yes, there's still more to come, but we are now getting our muscles built every day, practicing in our gym, whatever that means, the situations that life brings at you, and get stronger by the day, because the silver lining at the horizon is becoming visible. You can see the end of the tunnel. It's the first clear indication that there's a little light there which grows steadily bigger. I mean, in Switzerland we have these long railway tunnels, which are very straight, and when you're in the first car of the train, they might be 15 kilometers long. There comes a moment when all of a sudden you start at seeing that little dot of light, and it grows bigger and bigger as we get closer to it. That's where we are. We're still in the middle of the tunnel, but it is that moment. Sorry. So let's now look at this same chart, heliocentric Jupiter ingress into Aries as seen from Earth. And again, the moon right here. This is special in itself. The moon, again, on that level of mundane astrology, always stands for the people. And the moon is strong. That means we, the people, are having a big voice versus the authorities, which are kind of coded in the sun, kind of the general energy. So the moon, how it responds to these general energies. The moon super important here at the 7th house, and then in this square to Venus now here in geocentric position, but Varuna as being a faraway point, and Charikli, you see they're almost in the same place as they're heliocentrically, so is Radamantis a few degrees off, but we now have Venus entering this structure too. Venus in Leo after all. So Venus is bringing the passion, it's bringing the love, it's really starting to get us excited. We start feeling how much is possible here. And anyway, I could go on and on. This is just really a beautiful chart in general. And again, how could it be different? Uranus and the North Node here in a perfect T-square to the horizon axis, the power axis, I should say, at 17 degrees, as I started with. Anyway, so this is kind of giving you the framework. Now, let's build a few more ranks onto this picture. That's where we are. So tomorrow will be the 8th of 15 Uranus occultations. So for 15 months in a row between February 2022 and I guess February 2023, each month when the moon is in that degree, it will hide Uranus for some time. Seen anywhere from the planet, it's always kind of a smaller area because the moon is relatively small. Anyway, what this says is that Uranus is truly absorbed into the moon, and Uranus also is kind of hiding behind the moon. So it is a double whammy, if you want. On one side, it is kind of the obstruction of the Uranian forces. They are getting kind of pushed a little bit around. On the other side, with Uranus being directly behind the moon, it is literally its energies have to pass through the moon to reach the Earth. So it is kind of transformed into a more absorbable frequency, and in that sense it goes under the skin. It is those 15 months of the true inner transformation. It's kind of the rising of the dough, you could say. It's no more something just ephemeral. It really touches ground, it touches the material universe. That's what the moon does whenever a planet is strong in resonance with it. The moon grounds this energy, brings it down, makes it more visible, connects it also to our emotions and our moods and our deeper nature, our primal nature. The moon is so many things. Anyway, this is the 8th of these 15 occultations. The center, there were 7 before, 7 still to come, so kind of special. I want you to now look at the heliocentric chart of that moment, which I have here, and what you see. Jupiter at the base. So we have a confirmation of what we just said, how important this Jupiter ingress into Aries is, aside from the fact that there is Mercury and Hygeia exactly at the ascendant in that moment when the occultation is most exact. And this is again heliocentric, just transferred the axis from the Greenwich chart onto the sun. That's what it is. It's that resonance. That's how it works in astrology. So yeah, I just want to touch on the most outstanding things. You can anytime stop this video and have a closer look at the charts which I'm showing. There's always many more interesting things which would be worth mentioning, but yeah, it's just to keep it concise, to focus on the most important. Okay, you remember the 8 degrees Aquarius and Leo, which we had here at the beginning. And there were a couple other places where these 8-9 degrees showed up. That was when Deucalion started its outward move. Now we have this chart here, which is yeah, it is this one, right? Mars Chiron conjunction, heliocentric. Okay, what does that mean? Here we have them, the two, Chiron and Mars. Mars taking about 2 years, every 2 years, to come back to reunite with Chiron. So this is a 2-year cycle which is reborn. What is Mars and Chiron? First of all, Mars is ruling Aries. And as I mentioned, I guess you can go back to a few recordings prior, when Mars entered Aries heliocentrically, that really started to put the fire under our bums. Things started moving in much faster pace. Now, since Mars has now caught up to Chiron, Chiron is the one which breaks the crusts open, which brings things into the light, which it's kind of that good doctor who is pulling away all the layers from the wounds, cleaning them. It is that allowance of feeling the pain, of feeling what it needs for the bones to be back into the right position. And if you ever broke a bone, you probably know this is a very painful thing. Usually you get local anesthetics, but if you hadn't that, I mean, to get all the ligaments and the bones into the right alignment, yeah, this is a painful process, and once they are in the right alignment, then the healing happens. So this is kind of the base energy of Chiron, and since Chiron is in Aries, this has been very much focused on each and everyone in their own right. We have realized that it really is with us that things have to start. If we are able to generate a new frequency, each one of us by themselves, then this will ripple out. This will really create the momentum we need. It's true to the Hopi saying, we are the ones we have been waiting for. It is that deep realization which came to a recognition around 2018. That's when Chiron entered Aries. That's when we realized there's no Trump won't be able to save us. It's much deeper. We have to really get on board, each and everyone in their own way. And we're really just getting to the place where we're graduating and getting really good at what we're doing. And that's why we will be so successful. That's why there is such a pressure against us. Beautiful also here, TX300 in that perfect T-square to the horizon axis. TX300, that was the one which I really discovered in a bigger way during the trucker convoy in Ottawa in February, where this planet was super strong. TX300 is another one of those Cubewanos related to a loud, big, kind of brute, unpolished force. Something just like a really big semi-trailer, very visible, nothing that can be ignored. It is a manifestation of something which is intimidating those who are opposing us. That's kind of at the bottom here of this chart. So it really shows, yes, there's enormous potential here now awakened. We are unstoppable at this point. We have such a persistence, conviction, and we have now learned through the big victories. It's not yet the final victory, but we have won so many small victories in these last 2 years. I mean, it's unbelievable how far we've come. I never allowed to be chapped, and I was able to travel to India, where I am right now, get my teeth fixed, and it's all really coming down, the whole control agenda. They cannot contain it anymore, and that's what we all feel. That's why we're so spirited. We have already won. It's just now pull it through, put your armor on, and unite in the most intelligent way, close shoulders, and give it the final jolt to roll over. That's kind of where it is. And naturally with Mercury again here, I mean, it's uncanny how the universe has set all that up thousands of years ago. That's how far back, if we have the exact equations, we can see how planets align with each other. It's kind of with the exact equations we now have now, with all the wonderful observation tools, the telescopes and such. It is possible to calculate any conjunction or opposition of planets for several thousand years. That's really what I mean. So this is truly amazing how all these planets were moving on that particular trajectory to line up in such a way right now under these circumstances. It's really it gives you a shiver if you fully realize what that means. So yeah, Mercury here right again at center stage. It's really the age of realization, of the light bulb going on. Hey, I think I should look at it in a different way. That's kind of the thing, and this is now the spark is jumping. It's really like a wildfire. So again, centered in your heart, relaxed, loving. That's all we need to be at this point. The rest is happening by itself. Yes, and then, okay, this is the 19th of August, and then on the next day we have this Mars-Sedna conjunction. Now we are again in the geocentric perspective, and why I bring this chart up, well, Mars and Sedna, that is, well, it's again two-sided. On one side, this can be a big roadblock, but if we get past it, then this is the workout of that Sedna frequency, bringing it to the surface. And maybe just because it is a roadblock at first, it is set in motion. We have recognized it, and I mean, there was so much Sedna energy over the last 2 years. If you followed my recordings, you know that Sedna connected to all kinds of obstructions, of social distancing and isolation and abuse and all that. So Mars here starting a new cycle, and pretty much simultaneously with its heliocentric rebooting a cycle with Chiron. So there is some intrinsic connection here between this heliocentric restart and the geocentric restart, both with Mars. So it's kind of taking this Chiron influence in account. It is standing up to that challenge, to face the roadblock, to actually kind of feel the thrill in being thrown yet another curveball. It might sound really weird at first, but you see, this is it's like a computer game, and if you're a good gamer, I'm not. I'm just using this example, but my son has been playing computer games many years, so I've kind of an idea about it. But so if you are in that mode, you like challenges, and once you master a level, you get into the next level, and the challenges get greater. So it is kind of that thrill of facing the challenge. And I guess what is beautiful now is you truly can see there's no need to be afraid anymore. At first, you're failing in that sense that you have to repeat that whole level, start from A again to get back to where you probably were and lost it at some point. So it's in other words, all at first it is extending the time frame we are in this twilight zone of things not yet being fully worked out. Leo rising, Aries midheaven with Aries. Beautiful. Yeah, all I can say, Aries is that agency of truth. Nothing but the truth. I'm taking on any conflict, any challenger because I'm in pursuit of truth. I'm not scrolling back. I will even go to war with you. I'll pull the sword. I let you pull your sword. Let's work this out. It's kind of that dueling energy, and there's a true enjoyment in it. I mean, after all, Aries took on Pluto and won. That's how you could see it. This I talked about another time. I don't want to go too deep into this, but also Venus and Ceres here rising again. Ceres another time standing out. Ceres, unconditional love, and that fiery Leo energy, and Venus here coming closer now here. That will be exact around the 22nd or so. A beautiful conjunction, Venus and Ceres. Truly thriving in that kind of release energy of the heart, of passion, of excitement. So you get a picture. That is kind of this Mars-Setna conjunction adding in another layer, and then let's see what else I have here in store for you before we end this session. The last one here finally is when Mars enters Gemini. Just a few hours later, you see, we had the Mars-Setna conjunction exact at, or we will have at 3:40 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. roughly, so whatever, 15 hours later. No, I'm going backwards, sorry. So 3:40 a.m. Mars-Setna conjunction, and 7:56, so that's 5 hours or so later, Mars enters Gemini. You see, it means obvious. 29:53, and then within a few hours it's at 0 Gemini. Why is this chart so important? This is a long time. Mars will be in Gemini till January 2023. Sorry. So this is super important. Sorry. Yeah, still have a little cough here. Anyway, so Mars will turn retrograde by the end of October, and will then eventually turn direct again, I guess, early January. So there is lots going on. Mars will have 3 contacts with its position in the American chart at 21-22 Gemini. This I save for the next recording, just want to throw it out at this point. This transit naturally will be super important and really activating what's going on in the United States. Bring it now all to the forefront of the burner. Things have been getting ready in the background, slowly building. Now we are at this point where things start turning inside out. Not right away, quite yet. It's still building. Probably around late October, November, it will get really interesting and heated, and then there will be a build-up, and by February there will be some serious breakthroughs, and as I said earlier, around the end of May I'm expecting number 45 to be back. And just want to round it up here. This is Deucalion's maximum then in end of February 2023. With Uranus right here at the global source point shows you that yes, it's not yet over. This is kind of the final phase now will be initiated. So we are still a couple steps away, at least from Deucalion's point of view. And then if you look at this same moment in time when Deucalion will have its maximum in longitude, that is here to be exact, you see, 2623, that is the first second when it turns retrograde, when it starts moving backward again as seen from Earth. And that same moment in Washington DC, and you see 15 degrees Taurus here. It could be much more exact, 1525, 1535. And again, you see that's pretty much the same degree we have here at the source point of the global chart, coming into a direct play of interaction which the 7th house cusp is in the American nation's capital. And this is again just one little fractal in that sense. In the bigger picture, I could expand on this chart a lot. I won't do that right now. I really want to stick to the essentials and see that is the... Okay, let's go back to this chart. Deucalions when turning retrograde, 10 degrees Capricorn, the global ascendant, and a few hours later there is the last Uranus occultation with this exact same degree now reversed on the other side. That's the final Uranus occultation. So there's again some amazing resonance going on there, and actually this will be exactly at midday exact in Greenwich, when the sun will be at the culmination over western and eastern hemisphere of our planet Earth. Very, very powerful point in time and space. So I mean, and then Pallas here rising. Yes, this is showing by the end of February things will be rolled out into the open in such a way that we are coming in like steamrollers. We are just rolling these facets down. They all will fall. They just a little blow and they will come down. That's how it appears. That is what is coming. And last but not least, you see the vertex here with Deucalion. It's all a open book for me as an astrologer, and I really am so thrilled to be able to share this all with you. And yeah, that's it for today. For this one, I will do my other recording, because I should say I will have some dental surgery starting tomorrow series. I will have to remove a few of my teeth, so I probably won't be doing some recordings, because I probably will have some issues speaking without having some kind of key teeth here. Anyway, this is only for a short time. We'll get some implants, and then I will get a temporary, and then by the end of the month I should be good again to come back on camera. But for now I'm just doing one more recording, or maybe two, depending on my time here today. Anyway, that was just a little update, personal, so you know what I am planning, what I'm up to. So thank you for joining, listening, and yes, subscribe if you liked what you saw, and pass it on if you feel like. Okay, talk to you soon. Love you all. Bye bye.